Hi, everybody. This is Martha Creek. You can contact me at marthacreek.com. And there's hundreds of podcasts and videos out there. And this is a new podcast series that I'm starting that I'm very, very proud of, called Mentoring Moments with Martha. And the intent is, as many of you know that have studied and sat with me, that I want to get empowered teachings to the whole of the planet, to the whole of humanity, that there is a way for everybody to have inspiration and ways to activate in them what is their life's purpose and mission and vision, and to live from that. So my mission is to serve people who serve, to serve those who serve. And my vision is to get empowered teachings to the whole of the planet. So I have a very, very special guest with me today named Pam Grout. And she is absolutely the epitome of this. Many of you will know her already. She's got somewhere between 17 and 20 books that she's written over the course of a lifetime. She's also very intentional about how she lives and purposeful about her words, her actions, her prayers, her speak, and very devoted, in my opinion and my experience of her, to not just theoretically referring to principles, but absolutely living from principles and to live them out. So she's talented in many, many ways. She's also a devoted human being to conscious evolution and her own soul's progression and evolution, I believe, into that of the planet. So we'll check her out for yourself, pamgrout.com, and she'll speak about that and maybe what some of her favorite books are and all that. But I want to get right into Pam, a thank you for you, first of all, for taking the time to do this today.
And well, thank you, Martha. I'll do anything you ask. I love being in your presence. And even though we're not exactly each other's presence, well, I guess we are, but I just love you so much. And you're like the closest person I know that's really living all the truths that we, want to live, just really loving. I just feel your love. I feel it so much. And I feel like I can be so much myself and real with you, and that's just such a gift that you give to the world. So, anywhere Martha goes, I want to go too. So thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be with you today.
Well, you're welcome for it, honey. And I feel like what you just said about me is also a ditto for you. And I remember distinctly, honey, seeing you there in a workshop and thinking, this woman is serious about this. And here is somebody that's not just here to check this out. Here's somebody that's motivated like I am for liberation and for freeing ourselves and for living a more free life. So we've been kindred spirits as far as I'm concerned since those first moments of meeting. So tell me, honey, what is, if you had to sum it up then, what is your motivation? What is it you are offering the world? What is it you believe that you have to offer? What are your gifts?
Well, I've often believed that my mission was to change the dominant paradigm. And as you mentioned, getting free, part of that is, of course, getting free. But, we believe so many things that maybe aren't true. And so, mainly our thoughts. And so we spend our entire lives kind of in this prison in a sense. And so I guess my mission has always been to, I always say, change the dominant paradigm, or get people, people have drunk the cultural Kool-Aid, kind of go, wait, maybe there's something else. And so I want people to recognize, like the love I'm talking about that I feel from you, to me, that is the ultimate reality. And I think we don't see it or don't experience it sometimes because of all these stories that we have going on and all these thoughts that we believe. So I feel like if I can do anything to open that window to go, oh, okay, maybe there is another possibility. I talk a lot about problem state versus possibility state. And I think a lot of people, we tend to spend our life, the dominant paradigm is in problem state. So in problem state, we're looking for whatever the last problem or the next problem is, and then we're trying to fix it. Without really recognizing that it's one story and that there's so many other possibilities. So I guess moving people into seeing more with possibility state as opposed to problems, it would be one of the things I also, like to talk about as well.
Well, that's absolutely what I see you witness, honey. And, I say, when you say maybe, I'm like, well, no, drop the maybe. Yeah. That is the mind's operating system.
Mm-hmm.
find everything that's wrong, you know, and I give examples like we could be gone all day and we come into our house and the minute the mind starts going out, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, look everything that's wrong. So we look at what we're dealing with. So it's no little thing at all to ever circuit break that regressive, fault finding, nitpicking, blaming, shaming paradigm. And it's as old as dinosaurs. I mean, it's as oldest paradigm in the world, and it keeps in full command the victim archetype in us, like, oh, problems, look at the problems. So to speak in possibility terms. Now, one of the things that's most appealing to me and about your work, that it's not some kind of la land of possibilities. It's not saying, oh, deny the physical, but it's like, no, the physical is included. And there's going to be times where it doesn't go our way. But even in those times, how else can I be? How else can I see this? How else can I meet this with some understanding? And you're clear about that, honey, and in your own writings and in your own life, to say that I've got to keep my mindset headed in what's possible here, a possibility mindset. And we've got the inertia of the problem mindset, and whatever you call it, whether it's a closed mindset or a fixed mindset versus it's no little thing. And I say, I have to use a crowbar to get in there to my mind to say there, it's to loosen it up enough to say, what's another option for me here?
Exactly. Being able to do that. Yeah. I wrote a blog post the other day about the clown car. You know, that clown car where all the little clowns come out of this one little tiny car. And some days our minds are like that, you know, all these different, you mentioned that about all the thoughts and crazy feelings. It's like, I just sort of compared it to a clown car. And yes, we honor those, and yes, we accept them, and we don't try to fight them, but always let love drive the car. You know, those little clowns are going to keep coming up and keep telling us this stuff, but love, which is the ultimate reality, needs to be driving the car.
And that's even, you know, I wouldn't use the word for a long time. I don't know if you know that about me, but I believe that love is so misunderstood, honey, and so misused. Like, because, you know, I defined love through a 3-year-old's framework of what love is, which was primarily my maternal grandfather and how I felt with him and how much I loved him. And I realized that that's still operating in me, which if we look at that, then the definition of a 3-year-old's what love is AKA when I get my way, when I get what I want, when I'm seeking adoration or seeking appreciation or seeking to be seen or seeking to be okay, to seeking to feel safe, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, that's love, love, love. Then it's like, well, wait a minute. Then what about all the rest of this life journey where that's not my experience? And it's like, then I think that's a part of our awakening then, is to say, love is not absent. Love is driving the car. Love is the car. And for me, it includes this madness of thoughts, this stream of thoughts, the clowns in the car, and the wiliness of the mind, that I've got to integrate that as love also, that's also, love is included. That is part of love's process too, that's not the opposite of love or opposing love in any way.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that you refused to use, or often didn't use that word, but it's so true. All the really important stuff, there's so much baggage around the concept, love, God, forgiveness. I mean, all of it. If you really, you know, what we think about it is not even at all, because we can't really put it into words. It's so beyond words that trying to is part of the problem, you know. So yeah, that's interesting. I guess and if you said, and to come out of the paradigms we have about that, it's like whatever I've had to do to break myself from that. And one of them includes like looking at, then how am I going to be, how can I speak in terms without using the word love? Yes. What would be possible for that? And part of it is I don't have to speak in terms of love to experience love. And to grow my experience of love, when I stop rejecting what is and stop resisting what is. And I was listening to a David Hawkins. Do you remember him, honey? Power. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed him as a teacher, and I listened a lot to what he presented, and I got to be with him a few times. And he attributed it to like
you've got a barn full of animals, and then the gates open wide and they're just pouring out of that barn, and that you would have the good sense not to step in front of those animals, like not to try to stop those animals, but to give them space. And it's like, that's what we're describing with the clown car. It's like, you don't try to like stop what's happening here, and we can observe what's happening or absorb it. And with some of us that are more empathetic, empath-like, would then absorb what's going on here, worry about it, like, oh, there's another way, let's all be positive, let's all think possibilities, instead of like, I'm thinking possibilities one at a time, one situation at a time, one thought at a time, one feeling at a time.
Yeah.
So think about then what you've witnessed in your own life, honey, like what kind of questions. So from a possibility thinker and a possibility writer, somebody intentionally saying, I want to focus on what's the possibility here to break out of this old paradigm of what's awful, 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 what's wrong, 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 what's a problem, problem, problem. Where do you get rub from people? Where do you get the, what I call, Pam, the yeah buts? Oh, yeah, but it's easy for you to be positive. Yeah, but you don't. So what do you notice in that kind of arena?
Of the yeah buts that I get, I think a lot of people, especially the kind of things I talk about, possibility, love, to use that word, let me go, yeah, but what about this? I mean, so I hear that a lot, like, oh, this didn't work for me. I hear that a lot. This didn't work for me. Yeah, it does work for you, but this doesn't work for me. I didn't get the sign of the blessing or whatever, because I do have all those experiments. And I say, check this out for yourself. Is this really true? Don't take anybody's word for it. What's really real for you? What's happening for you? So I kind of set up some parameters for people to test it out. And then the yeah, but usually come, well, but it didn't work for me. Yeah, but it didn't work. But again, how can it work beyond the mental framework that you have set up? It can't. We're at this point, and until we can get open enough to investigate it, it's just going to keep going in that same little path that it's been on forever. So I think, again, to not. So what word do you use instead of love?
Well, it depends on the situation.
Okay, yeah, I wondered about that, because when I use the word love, I do talk about this bigger energy that's really beyond words. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I want to grow in myself, that thing that I would call love. But I totally get it why you wouldn't want to use that. But okay, if I want to grow that, then I need to love, or whatever word we could use, the part of me that, the clown card that thinks it doesn't work. So I'm trying to grow the love part. So that love part's going to love the self-loather in me. It's going to love the clown that believes, life isn't fair. That's a big one that comes up for me. I have that life isn't fair clown comes up. And when I look, when I'm doing the work, that you and I do the bar, that one just comes up for me so often. So I have to love the person, or the life isn't fair clown. And that grows that part of me that is the more openness. I mean, that could be a good word. I've been really intrigued with the word light lately. And I know that's really vague too, but I don't know, seeing the light. And, I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, and there's all about light. And I don't know, it has as much baggage, though, as some of the other words. Maybe light doesn't. It's also something we don't understand. I mean, I don't understand it for sure, but I think my biggest gift is I understand nothing. I know nothing, really.
Well, that's the wisdom, every master teacher said, the more we realize, the more we don't know, the wiser we're getting over and over and over. So that's another sign of our mastery. So give yourself some kudos, honey, even with those clowns you're dealing with. I believe it's true, honey. And, just as I was also listening recently to Paul Selig's work, and he refers to light and darkness, and that you cannot have anything in the dark. You cannot have, and for me, then I take it to, I can't have any aspect of me in the dark. The one that believes it's unfair, or the loather, or the worrier, or whatever. I can't keep that aspect of self in the dark and be light at the same time. So if I'm motivated by light, motivated by love, motivated by freedom, then I've got to include that part of myself. That's got to be integrated in there. And I cannot do it if I continue to disintegrate it or disown it or deny it or anything. Then I'm minimizing and restricting the flow, the light, the love, clarity, integrity, universal flow, divine connection, whatever we call it. So for me, it's about including that in there. And if I want to grow my lightness and my liberation, then it's got to be included for sure. He's also got a quote. I'd love to hear your response to this. What we damn damns us.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. And it's so true, because if we damn something, that's like it's unacceptable. And as long as it's unacceptable, then it will never be loved, or it will never be embraced, or, will never be whole, because there's that broken off part that's damned, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So then we're damned by the damning itself.
Exactly.
And it leaves this fear mind or ego or whatever we call it, like in some illusion or delusion that it's in control of something. Like, no, it's unacceptable. Absolutely no, I reject it. And it's like, I don't get to pick. It is included. And then even the notion of something that's unfair, has been so helpful to me, particularly in the last just 2 or 3 years, of just getting a period in there. And just your words were so powerful when we opened this session with, I want to take down that old paradigm. I want to take down the problem paradigm and get in a possibility paradigm. And the problem paradigm includes that life's going to be fair.
Exactly. Yeah.
Part of the problem paradigm versus that's fantasy versus life is unfair according to my standards, according to my preferences, according to my demands, according to my willfulness. So then just life is unfair, period, has far less stress than life's unfair, comma, and that's a real problem.
Right. And that's one of the things I love about your work is that period, man. You're really big on that period, because it's everything after the period that causes all the suffering, and boy, do we have a lot of stuff after the period. It means this, it means that, it means this. And yeah, so that's one of the things you have been such a master at is, no, that's it. Stop it right there.
Also grows the clown car.
Yeah.
Like everything after that comma is another clown, not just another clown, but another clown car.
Yeah.
With it. Versus if I can keep that period in there, and then to look to see that I can just own the aspect of me that I'm experiencing this as unfair. I didn't get what I wanted here. And I've got the loss and the grief and the angst and the aggravation and the irritation from that. And I'm also growing myself up that absolutely accepts that I don't get to say how this is going to go. And, I hear a lot about that. So I'd be curious to hear what people say to you, like then if we're the creator of our reality, if we're the creator of our circumstance, then how could I ever experience something as unfair?
Right. Well, we create it with our story. The it's unfair story creates all the, the problems and the suffering. It just is. When you put that period on it, then you don't have all the suffering with it. I mean, in some ways, our job is to eliminate suffering, and we get suffering because of the thoughts that we have, because of those paradigms that we believe these, and we all have so many of them, so many things that are so many clowns in our car that we just have to kind of look at them and accept them and welcome them all to the party, I guess. And then, because when we welcome them all, then that grows that freedom, that love, that whatever word we're using for what we think we're creating, or what, and I don't even know that we're creating it. It's like recognizing it, because it is what it is. But we've got stories that it's not supposed to be, it's unfair. My little story, well, that shouldn't be. So that's the suffering right there. And looking at that is the secret. And looking at it, accepting it, loving it, and being okay with it. I always say the 2 magic words, it's okay. It's okay. But we reject, no, you're not allowed, whatever, you're not loving it. So yeah. It's complicated.
Well,
that's a thought too, but certainly.
And that it's okay business though, Pam, is a superpower. And it's the last thing a problem seeking, problem building problem focused mind is ever, 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 never going to meet in itself is to say, instead of it's a problem, it's going to go, it's okay. It's okay. And I say it as it's included. This is included. Hurricanes are included. Drought is included. Unexpected deaths are included. Illness is included. Disrespect is included. And until I include that and actually integrate that and embody it, then I live with that's a problem. And then, of course, I'm victim to it. And it's the oldest archetype there is, and still a great deal of allure to keeping that story going about how unfair it is. And here's my proof to support how unfair it is.
Right. And the thing about holding on to the story and to not examine it, just think of what could be there. So, I mean, it blocks everything. So if you want to see what, all the possibilities it's just like my idea, this love, beauty, whatever thing is, but all these stories, all these, it's unfair, blah, 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 blocks that. And it's like, how exciting to know what that other thing could be that's blocked by my stories, my clowns, my whatever, thoughts, beliefs. So, and that alone is motivation to go, wow, what's there? What's beyond the known? What's beyond the thoughts, beyond the concretization of what we think is truth?
Yes, which it holds all the power in the universe to actually approach this with curiosity. Like, what is another possibility for me? What is another way I could see this? What's a different framework I could look through? What's another lens I could look through at this, which doesn't minimize the pain or take away the loss or anything, but I'm going to have less loss and less pain and suffering if I put another framework around this. And it's mighty, mighty tempting to keep that old framework going, that when we've got the inertia of 2,000 years of that old framework too. So it's no little thing to have a sprinkle of you and me and a few people like us out in the world saying, now hold on, hold on. How else can you see this? What if you looked at possibilities? What if you did this? And without putting this, I love to hear you speak about this, honey, like not to put a fake positivity on it. The difference of a fake positivity, like, I'm even quoted as saying when people run around going, it's all good. And I'm like, well, tell your face, because it has not caught up to just how good it is. So not a fake positivity, but a willingness, a desire for liberation, a desire for salvation, whatever you call it, to say, I'm suffering and I'm willing to see this differently. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to put a positive spin on it. I'm not painting something beige purple, but I'm absolutely willing to see this from a higher perspective, from a broader perspective, from a higher room of my thinking. So what would you say to folks or to tendencies for fake positivity?
Well, I think when you stay in the fake positivity, then you never get to the real, like, oh, it's all good or whatever. Because I believe that in the end, it is all good. But you will never know that truly if you keep saying or pretending something, painting the, whatever you said, the elephant blue or whatever. You're not going to be able to really see that or experience that. So, yes, when you're open-minded enough to let it all be okay, then you can recognize, or then you can maybe get glimpses that it really is all okay. But you have to be willing to be okay with the things that you don't want to be okay, the things that you're pushing away, that you're, with your false positivity. So, yeah. I mean, I think that happens. They talk about spiritual bypass, and I think that can certainly happen. And there's a lot of that probably going on. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I've did it. I've had it. I've drawn it. I've put it on boards and artwork and images. Like, here is what's happening. I could see it happening within myself. I could see it happening in other people. Like when feelings start to get messy or intense or anything, it's just like affirm. And it's like, there's only the way through it is through it.
Right. And I think when you do start affirming, which is the thing, they talk about unity or in these spiritual places, I think what happens is everything unlike it does come up. So there's nothing wrong with the affirmation of that, because anything of its opposite will come up to be healed, to be accepted, to be okay to sit in the clown car, just not to be driving. So it's actually, you know, it's going to come up one way or another. You know, either it will be in reaction to the positivity you put on it, or it will come up just because it's going to come up, because it's there, and it's going to come up because it's there. I mean, you can't hide it or paint over it or whatever.
I still use affirmations some. I still speak in terms of affirming things. And I also have a very different take on them than I did 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago for that matter. And what I heard was the things that I was affirming was exactly what I wasn't believing. So I was affirming it in some attempt to make myself believe it. And I found more power and more effectiveness in questioning what I believed instead. Instead of trying to talk my mind out of something which was insatiable and endless and infinite, I simply wrote it down and said, what am I actually believing here? What's the consequences of me believing it? And what's a new possibility for me? What's another option for me? And the biggest thing for me, Pam, is that it's one thing to theoretically understand it or could conceptually espouse it, but it's another thing entirely to live it out.
Exactly.
To embody it. And as long as we've got a pulse, we're still in progress. And my hope in it, honestly, is it's not a thing itself, but a direction to go in. So then when I can accept that I'm not okay, then I've just brought a little okayness to not being okay. And when I'm not at peace, it's like then I can bring some peace to not being at peace, instead of this demand for peace, which I cannot have. You know, it's like I'm only going to inhale and not exhale. It's like, no, it's going to be times of peace and times of unrest and times of acceptance and times of rejection and times I feel like life is wonderful and fair and times I feel and believe like it's unfair. And then here comes all the evidence to support anything that I believe. I want to ask you about what you have witnessed. So if you're like at the end of your life looking back, honey, and you said, here's what my life was about, here's what my life meant, and these are the ways I believe I've contributed to the world. How would you list your contributions? What contributions do you think you've made?
Well, I know I get a lot of emails from people, a lot of messages from people that my words really did shine light on some things that maybe they were unaware of. I hear a lot of times, wow, what you've written about here has literally changed my life. So that's been really meaningful to me and keeps me going. Like, you know, sometimes I'll be, you know, doubting myself or whatever, like, what am I doing? You know, and then I'll get, you know, a message like that. It's like, wow. So I think opening up the window to a, you know, maybe a different possibility, things that people had never thought of before, because again, our beliefs get really rigid. We think this is the way it is. We're so sure we're right about this. And someone comes along like me and says, well, wait, what about this? So maybe shaking up the, you know, the Jenga tower or something, knocking over the Jenga tower of beliefs and thoughts that we've, and I mean, I also believe that, you know, that in the end, love is the only real thing. And I know you're not into that word, but that this higher, greater thing is guiding us, you know, this love, beauty, whatever you want to call it. And I do hope that through my work, I've introduced a few people to recognize that as a possibility. You know, I don't know that I always show the exact route on how to get there, but at least it maybe interests people enough to go, wow, could that be? Is that possible? So yeah, maybe if I say getting people to, is that possible? And I do think, you know, you're either focused on, you know, what you don't have or what you have. And I think focusing on what you have, which is kind of the same as gratitude. Like I also known for, I have a big focus on being grateful. being grateful through it all. And you can't be grateful for everything that happens, but you can always find something to be grateful for, which kind of brings you more to what's really real, what's really here and now. And so I'd say that's another focus of my work too, is gratitude and looking at what's here, what can you find that is, you know, a beautiful thing. And a lot of gratitude is just looking closer, looking, observing more, because there are so many things, but when you're focused on all those problems, or, you know, casting that into the future, which is where problems, you know, come from, or I guess they come from the past and the future. But
Well,
when you're more in the now, and that's kind of where gratitude takes you more to the now. This is where I am now, and this is what you know, there's a little ladybug crawling across my toe. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Or, you know, there's a bird singing out my window, and you know, that brings you more to reality, because that is reality. You know, all the other stuff is, you know, a story. It's
yeah, images.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and Katie says, if you want more shame and guilt, refer to your past and regrets, remorse. And if you want more fear and terror, imagine a future.
yeah.
And it's exactly what you're describing here, honey. But then the temptation to do that in the patterned, old, problematic ways, because most of the things we refer to in the past are problems of the past. Things I could have done, should have done, wouldn't have done, wish they hadn't, things they shouldn't have done, wish they hadn't have. And it's like, whoo, how do we even have a speck of vitality left, or vibrancy? So I've hearing the word gratitude, honey, I know that about you, and I associate it with you. I couldn't have the thought of gratitude and not think of you, but my gratitude for you and the way you live your life and my life with you, and the way that you focused on gratitude. Because as a young kid, as a 3-year-old kid, I was shown 2 keys for life, giant keys. And they look like, you know, like keys, like unlock the door keys, but taller than Jack and the Beanstalk stalks. And gratitude was it, and forgiveness. So I took that very, very seriously, and to practice that. And it will not fail. It cannot fail, even in times of loss and grief, to say, I don't have to be grateful that somebody died. I don't have to be grateful that I got fired or lost a job or got an illness. And I can be grateful for something about that life I lost, and the fact that I had that life shared with me here. So there's no place that gratitude cannot bring light back to us, love back to us, freedom back to us. And so it's not just a catchphrase or a keyword, like, oh, gratitude, 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 but like, no, it is a superpower.
But it's also, like we were talking before, it has a lot of baggage, I think, like God, like love, like forgiveness, because people, oh, gratitude, that's, you know, Pollyanna. So I think it also gets written off, and people don't recognize, as you mentioned, it is a superpower, no question about it. So yeah, but it's, again, one of those things that has a lot of baggage around it, or I don't even know if it's baggage so much as people just poo-poo it, or don't recognize its great power. I mean, they just think, yeah, sure, I can be grateful, whatever, I'm gonna make something up. But to really truly see what's there in that moment is really what gratitude is about. And again, there's always something right here and now. So yeah, it's not always appreciated for the great superpower that it is.
And the fact that we treat gratitude like it's a checkbox exercise, like, oh, gratitude got it. And it's like, no, it's not a thing. It's like a direction to go in. And what I wrote down, honey, that from whatever I pulled from you today, I wanted to look at today and bring forth was, this is what it says: we, the greatest of all creators. And that's what I think this gratitude is, the most causative, generative superpower that there is. And you're living it, honey, and me and you and some of us that go in that direction of gratitude. So we, the greatest of all creators, with capabilities to build cities and inspire nations, are squandering our time watching reruns.
Yeah.
We have forgotten that whole galaxies exist within our grasp. So, you know, it's like, I've been serving in various groups and saying, have permission to go watch I Love Lucy. Go watch some I Love Lucy. It's medicine. And then after you watch I Love Lucy, remember what's true. Remember who you are. And I believe that's the word. And I'm inspired today to return to that, Pam, from listening to you. And like, what word are we going to use, and this, that, and the other? Because I'm not opposed to love. I just had to break myself from using it because it didn't convey what I was feeling or what I wanted to convey as far as a message. And it is that it's a remembrance of what is real, what is not real, what grows, what can grow, the potentiality of that, an infinite potential of something that I've just got glimpses of that continue to motivate me to go in that direction. And even with the allure to stay the same or to keep the story or to live in that, yeah, but, it's like, what's another option for me? What is another option for me? And then I have more capacity then to live in freer in a galaxy of being, a cell in an organism, whatever you want to say, and doing everything possible to use the mind as and to not let the fear mind, ego mind be the master of this, but then this to continue to build and develop the part of the mind that can be the master of it. And I just finished a series on the Beatitudes, which I love very much. And it's all about, I believe that those teachings are about transformation of the heart, transformation of the mind, transformation of a consciousness. And it was that blessed are those who find love and shine the pathway to love for other people. That was one of the new translations of the Beatitude.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
That would then, blessed are those who find God, find liberation, whatever it is, find whatever is your belief about is the ultimate. And then shine away, shine the path, sow seeds, trails for other people to find it. Blessed are they. And that's what I believe about you, honey. And that's the contributions that you've made, that I'm making and endeavoring to make more and more and more. That whatever we have found, that we get glimpses of, and more than glimpses of, that we're offering that back through you, through your writing and these library of books that you've put forth, and the way you serve groups, honey, and events and speaking and this, that, and the other. So talk a little bit about here, if you will, about your books, what you're excited about, how you're using the books or how you're seeing the books used. So we can put some of that forth for people that may not be familiar with them, that they can start to look.
Well, my most recent book is the Course in Miracles Experiment. And again, I said I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. So back in 2018, on January 1st, I began blogging about A Course in Miracles. And I do the Course in Miracles. I start on January 1st every year. I mean, the Course says you've done it 1 year, then you've done it. And you just kind of ask. But I'm a slow learner, so I start it again every year. And I do it on January 1st with lesson 1, because there's a lot of people around the world that are. And I like that idea of being with this big energy of people all over that are doing it on, lesson 1 on January 1st, and I go through the year. Anyway, so I was blogging about it, just offering my experiences and my thoughts on each lesson. And before long, people start saying, "Oh, you need to turn this into a book," And I believe we get guidance, And after about 100 people, 100 messages, oh, okay, I finally get the guidance. So, I sent a proposal off. So that's my current offering. But in many ways, the other books that I've written have also been kind of taken from Course in Miracles. A lot of the thoughts and the ideas are from A Course in Miracles as well. I'm a person who really enjoys studying a lot of different things. As you know, I love the work with Byron Katie. I've done some tapping. I love Ho'oponopono. I mean, I have done a little bit of everything, and I enjoy that. I like dabbling here and there. There's various paths, and some people pick one path and they do not go from it. I'm kind of like, I like a little this, little of that. in different times, different things serve me. But anyway, my current book is this Course in Miracles experiment. And the subtitle, and I think this is pretty good, it says, A Starter Kit for Rewiring Your Mind and Therefore Your World. So that's, the current book that's out right now. Another book that I think is a little bit relevant is I have a book called Art and Soul Reloaded. And it's actually, that quote that you just said that I think you found on my website, that actually comes from that book. And I wrote the book Art and Soul, long ago, like maybe in 2000, or I don't know, it was a long time ago. My daughter was very young at the time. So yeah, probably 20 years ago. And I love that book. And so anyway, it's basically saying that creativity and spirituality are very much the same. And that all of us were created in the image and likeness of the great creator, whatever that is, whatever you believe it to be. And that is our mission, is to be creative, to be generative. And that when we're doing that, I think we just feel more on path, more on mission. So, and I think right now, again, we said we weren't going to talk about this, but I think a lot of things in our society are being rearranged. And I think it can use a lot of creators, using the power of their minds, their imaginations to imagine a world that is more equitable, more loving, more all those things. And so I think that book has some pretty good relevance right now too. It would be the book that came out, I guess, right before this one. Yeah, I guess it would be. So Art and Soul Reloaded is another one. And I did a TED talk on that. And so I've always been big on, creativity and spirituality. I suppose the book that more people know, the one that was an international bestseller and translated to 40 languages, is E Squared. And again, that was kind of spawned from the principles of Course in Miracles as well. But I suppose that's what most people know. And then, Think and Grow Rich, the gratitude book too, has been, pretty popular. But so I've got kind of a wide gamut of books out there. I've done travel books. I know you're a big traveler too. I did the 3 books for National Geographic about meaningful vacations. I think traveling is another way to really open our mind. We're talking here about freedom and opening our minds and seeing a different way. And I think travel does that for a lot of people. When you go all over the world and you realize we're all exactly the same, we all have the same longings, the same fears, it's like you said, it's the same thing. How many thousands of years we're all kind of doing the same thing, all humans. So I'm a big fan of traveling and find that to be a real, right now, I guess we're not really traveling, but I am a real proponent of traveling, and have done a lot of traveling and been, all over the globe, and have seen a lot of things and had my eyes opened in a lot of ways from going other places. So anyway, I guess that's my books, kind of in those categories.
I wanted to hear what they meant to you, because that subtitle of that Course in Miracles experiment, if that wouldn't cause you, the listener, whoever's listening to this, to run your fingers right over to your keyboard to Amazon and buy that book, A Starter Kit for Rewiring Your Mind and Therefore Your World.
Therefore Your World, exactly. That's where it all starts.
It starts there. And so you don't have to be a Course in Miracles student. You don't have to start every January and do 365 lessons. Like, don't let that hold you back here. So more. And then, of course, I can't say enough about gratitude. Thank, and grow rich. And to realize what richness is, which will break us out of some of these problem paradigms of believing that we know what rich is also.
Right. That's one of that book. In fact, people thought it was financial abundance, but I talk about kinds of capital. It has nothing to do with financial capital. And I think that's one of the paradigms we'd like to leap from, is thinking that financial capital is so important. Our society's based an awful lot on that, but that's one of the things I think is being rearranged now. There's so many other kinds of capital that is available for us, and it's a lot more important, like creative capital for one thing, social capital, alchemic capital. I have different kinds of capital, spiritual capital. Those are what's really important. And so I think the book, some people might think it's about financial capital. It's not at all. It's all
of which there is an infinite potential,
exactly.
Infinite potential in those arenas. And I do a monthly group called Infinite Potential. So it approaches it, and people sign up going, oh, I'm going to take it because it's about abundance and prosperity. And I'm like, well, it is, but not according to the old paradigm of
Right.
what,
It's real prosperity. It's
yeah,
real, true
yeah,
prosperity.
where you
Rich.
own 30 minutes a day and get a BMW.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing wrong with the BMW, but and that's not what it's about.
Right.
I also want to get on here, honey, your foundation and and just open it to say anything you want to do, say about Taz, and anything you want to share or skip, you're welcome to. But I want the foundation lifted up here too, and the love that I can absolutely use the word love and delight. That's the basis of that creation and what I've just had a glimpse of.
Yeah, so I started the 222 Foundation in honor of my daughter who died of a cerebral aneurysm 1 week after her 25th birthday. It was a very shocking, very talk about the world not going the way you thought it was going to situation. And again, because we do have the choice, you know, that's a problem state, and that is, or possibly, what can I do with this? And so I've created this foundation, and she and I had this thing with 222. I talk about a little bit in my blog and some of my books. And so every year on February 22nd, we give a grant, to an organization that is changing the consciousness of the world. And that's the real important thing about it. It's about being creative. It's something creative, and it's something about changing the consciousness, because until we change the consciousness, everything's going to stay the same. So, we can throw money at all kinds of different things, but what really is going to change the world is, again, like my book says, changing your mind, changing your consciousness. So that's the kind of projects that we reward. Like, for example, the first year, and this was only a few months after she had passed, I happened to be in India, and kind of wasn't going to go because it was a month after she passed, and I thought, how in the world can I go off to India? I'd been invited by this Tribes for Good, and it ended up being a very spiritual, a very mind-opening experience. But right after I'd been to the Taj Mahal, which turned out is actually a monument to love to a woman named Mumtaz, and it took 20,000 workers 22 years, which again, the 222 thing. But we leave there and we go to in Agra, India, this place called Shiros Hangout. There's a bunch of women who had been, before they'd be called victims of acid attacks. They'd had acid thrown on them. Their faces literally melted off, very disfigured. But these women, instead of being victims, have gone out and shown love. They create food and coffee and tea for people. And instead of cowering away, hiding, it's like, no, who they are, the real love, the real who they are from their hearts is out on display. And if that's not changing consciousness, I don't know what is. So it was very clear to me, that was where the first grant would go on February 22nd. And then, this last February 22nd, we rewarded 3 other projects. One was planting 2,222 trees. It's all, these multiples of 222, because that was Taz and my thing. We're planting forest of trees in India, 2,222 trees. And again, that was sort of, somebody had nominated Greta Thunberg, but I thought, okay, well, she talks about trees and how that's one way to fight climate change. So we're going to plant these trees. And then we're building a school in Taz's honor in Nepal. She was a big reader. And that's, again, changing consciousness for these girls. So that was, and another one was it's a random acts of money project. Taz and I used to like to leave little, dollar bills, $5 bills, and you are loved, notes from the universe, just little encouraging things. So a kindergarten teacher in Snohomish, Washington pitched a project. She does a lot of art. She makes money into art, like swans and all kinds of different things, that leaves it all over the place. So that was the third project that we decided to award this year. And then also we did a funny thing with the stay-at-home dance. My partner and I did this really goofy dance in honor of Jack Black. And so we gave $222 to the charities of the first 22 people that would also do a funny stay-at-home dance, because I like to make it fun. We can do it however we want to do it. So I kind of like to put a little humor, a little bit of fun into it. So that was the most recent project of the 222 project. But it's something that I'm committed to, to keep Taz's memory alive. I mean, to me, she's very much alive. I mean, I dedicated the Course in Miracles book. It starts out with, for Taz, I can never live without you, so I don't. Death is an idea, and it's has a very bad reputation. But again, the truth of who we are, that broader perspective that I'm aiming to go for, I've got this opportunity now to really get a broader perspective with this passing of my daughter, which was the last thing I would have chosen for myself. But my awareness, this awareness of what I have so far, that's what I never would have chosen. But it's helping me grow into, a bigger version of me, a bigger understanding of reality.
Yeah. Well, it's so profound, honey, to hear, and so emotional that you have used what the world says you can't bear, that level of loss that we would say, no, anything but that for most sane mothers, or sane fathers for that matter, sane people. And not only did you, but you've done what you're writing about and speaking about and teaching, to say, I've got to find the possibility in this too. And yes, did it hurt like a son of a gun?
And still does. I mean, it's not something you get over. I mean, you carry that with you forever. But I heard a line where did I hear this line? Maybe in a movie or something, said, well, you're not going to let a little thing like death get in the way of our connection, or something to that, So again,
That's
I'm trying to,
like you, honey. That
yeah.
means that would make your tail wag. But so that would give you that possibility mindset that I'm not going to let death cannot take her from me. So just
Right.
your tribute to her, honey, in the book, this is for Taz. And
right. And so many people, literally every week I get people sending me pictures of 222 or various things. I mean, really, Taz has made an impression and has been connected to so many people all over the world. I mean, I'm amazed at how many people think of Taz every time they see 222. And her example of creativity and expanded consciousness. So she's making a big impact out there. I guess the two of us together, that's some kind of soul contract we must have made. I don't know why I agreed to it, but
we get to love her too, honey,
yeah.
and be loved by her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Alive and on the other side, in the other,
Right.
or whatever how you see that. So then how do people, if they've got projects, how do they submit them to you? And if they want to contribute to making this more expanded and to be a part of the foundation, give us directions about that.
Oh, see, I would love, I mean, I do a call for entries in the fall every year. And again, the bigger the project is, as far as more is possible for changing consciousness, the more likely it's going to be something creative. I mean, we hope to be an incubator even for some of these projects. So kind of, I guess, stay in touch with my website. The foundation is run through an organization in my town of Lawrence, Kansas. And so if I probably should make it more easily to find on my website as far as people that might want to contribute. I mean, mostly it's a way of me giving the money, my money out there into the world. But there is a foundation, and some people do like to contribute. And you can find if you Google Pam Grout 222 Foundation, I think you would go to the link. But anybody that wants to know can maybe find it on my website somewhere. It's maybe hidden. It's not a real obvious thing, but anyway, yeah.
That's, honey, because I want that out in the world. I hope this will inspire somebody to start their own foundation, and it doesn't have to be a death. Do it because you've got a mission, because you want to see trees planted, because you want to see books in kids' hands, because you want people to be free to be out on the street, regardless of their disfigurement or whatever else. So to find your own purpose and cause about this, which was part of the impetus for this series of these podcasts. And that then if we don't have the energy for that, then funnel money to Pam Grout, who's funneling money to the whole of the world to change consciousness. So go do your own projects or go do your own foundations. And if not, hand money over to somebody that's already got the kinks worked out of this, that's already got the wrinkles ironed out of foundation work and what it's taking. So pamgrout.com, and she does blogs, and I've heard something this week called vlog or something like that. So,
yeah, I haven't done those. Video blog is what that is. And you probably do some of those, I think. I don't necessarily. I guess our little dance was kind of a vlog, and
that's
we did do a poem,
yeah.
My partner and I. So I guess I've done a few, but I do mostly just standard blogs. There's like 700 of them on my on my website, and there's a lot of inspiration there for people that have the time or the inclination to go look at it.
There is, and it's also inspiration. So go read it, please go read it, listeners, and I'll share it out. So it's a way for you to sow seeds of possibility thinking and causative, creative, generative use of the mind potential here out for people too. And those of you that are traveling or want to travel or into seeing the world, absolutely hook up with what she's written in World Travels for this over, what is it, 20 or more years, honey, of writing as a world traveler writer.
Oh yeah, I've been doing that from way before Taz was born. So probably 40 years of travel writing. Yeah.
So there's some tried and true here. So you'd want to check some of this out somehow. So anything in closing, honey? Like if anything?
Well, just that I am so grateful, Martha. Anytime I can get a chance to be with you, I'm there, and I just appreciate you so much. And thank you for all you're doing to change the planet. I mean, you are one of the clearest teachers that I know, and I'm very grateful that somehow or another I found out about you. I don't know how it happened, but anyway, I'm very grateful, and I'm just, thank you so much for being who you are and for doing what you do, and keep doing it, man.
Yeah, me too. I will, honey, and I'll be right there with you. So you're welcome for my part, sister soul, and thank you also, and Godspeed. So together we do what we cannot do alone. And
exactly.
Whoever's listening, know that we're together with you too, that we're here to walk with you and to uplift your dreams and your potential, and absolutely to be the ones, both Pam and me and others like us, that are motivated the way we are with some kind of uncommon stamina for things like this, that we're here as your cheerleaders. So whatever is in your heart and mind to bring forth into the world, let this be your inspiration to take a step, even a baby step toward that. And PamGrout.com, get in touch with her, get those books lined up and loaded up, or buy a dozen and send them out to people. And then MarthaCreek.com to get in touch with me or to join in that those videos or podcasts there. And please share them. It's a way that we, Pam and I, can reach this many. Then together we can reach this many, and then eventually empower teachings for the whole of the world. So that's what we're about. So we offer this up then, and that from that heart of devotion and that heart of love and the potential for greater love, greater love, greater love as we go forth. So blessings, everybody.
Blessings, everybody.
Thanks again, Pam. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
MarthaCreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.